Welcome back to my world of stuff. My name is Paul Mount and welcome to the 400th video on this channel. This is episode 400 and it's also the final video on this channel. The final one with a number, because as I mentioned a couple of videos ago, if you looked at it, you would notice that I've decided to dump the numbering system on my videos for various reasons. One, I don't think it means anything to anybody really, and I've never kept a proper catalogue of what videos are, so I've never been able to say, if you check back in 263, you'll find me talking about this. I've never done that, and although I like the number system and I like seeing numbers of things like magazines and books and things, I always like it when you have a collection that starts and you've got them all in sequential order. It doesn't seem a lot of point, and I suspect that the algorithm of YouTube, I still don't know what that is, for some reason doesn't particularly take to videos that have a number to them, so I think it's probably just better to be a bit random. So this is my 400th video, but every video I release after this will just be a video that gets released and won't be any numbers and so on, so you won't be able to keep track of them by the numbers. So if you want to watch the videos, you'll have to watch them rather than just wait for the numbers, whatever that means. So yes, video number 400, and probably quite appropriately, I'm going to talk about Doctor Who today. Doctor Who, 7 days now. 7-day countdown has begun to the much awaited new series, the first series starring Ncuti Gatwa, the first new series again produced and showrun by Russell T Davies. I just thought I would have a little spitball, a little chat about the coming series, my thoughts and hopes and expectations and fears perhaps for the way things may go in the next couple of months over the run of the series, because it is just a couple of months. We're getting 8 episodes in this series. 2 of them are dropping at midnight on BBC iPlayer, which coincides with the worldwide release on Disney+. They will then screen, I think it's 6:20 and 7:10 on BBC One, Saturday the 11th, and then for the next 6 weeks we'll have another run of episodes which takes us to the end of a truncated first series. This is very much in line with the streaming service these days, which tends to do 8 episode runs. And of course Doctor Who's budget has now been increased quite substantially. I think it's now getting $6 million per episode as opposed to the equivalent of $2 million that it would once have had. And I suppose that in a way, with less episodes being made, I think it's not that the budget is necessarily increased, it's just that it's focused on a smaller number of episodes. I mean, it's obviously going to be more money in real terms, but there are 5 less episodes being made than, or even 2 less episodes being made than we had in the Chibnall era. So, but it's Doctor Who's got more money. One way, whichever way you look at it, there's more cash in the pot. So I wanted to talk about the series and where I think it's going to go and what I think it's going to do. I'm looking forward to the series, and I'm looking forward to it more than I was, say, 2 or 3 months ago even. The publicity campaign has been racking up in the last couple of weeks. Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson, who of course plays Ruby Sunday, they've been popping up on The One Show, on various chat shows. In America particularly, they've done quite a lot of stuff in America, on American breakfast shows and the late night chat shows. The profile of the show has raised in the last fortnight with new trailers, new clips, new bits of information, and it served to make me feel more upbeat about the series than I might have done 3 months ago. The reason I didn't feel upbeat is because of one of the things that still troubles me slightly. Doctor Who is now moving up a notch in terms of where it is in the science fiction marketplace. And when Doctor Who came back in 2005, there were no streaming services. There was no Amazon, there was no Netflix, there was no Apple TV Plus. Doctor Who existed in the vacuum where it was part of the British TV landscape. The American TV landscape was dominated by the networks in America who made science fiction shows, but they were sort of nothing like the budgets that science fiction shows have today. So it was easier in 2005 for Doctor Who to appear, make a massive splash with its incredible visual effects and these fantastic stories. But things have changed in the 20 years, incredibly, since Doctor Who went back into production. Things have changed massively. Now we do have the streamers. Now we do have Netflix and Amazon and Prime. Amazon is Prime. Amazon, Apple, Paramount, all these channels with massive budgets, and they're not afraid to spend them. For example, the recent brilliant 3-Body project on Netflix had a budget of $20 million for each of its hour-long episodes, and that makes Doctor Who's budget seem like small beer in comparison. And bearing in mind that 3-Body Problem was set on Earth various locations on Earth, big scale sets, big casts, lots of moving about. Doctor Who is telling stories on a massive cosmic canvas out into space on other planets, on Earth of course. So Doctor Who's got a bigger global sort of universal reach in terms of its storytelling, but it has a much smaller budget. And I do wonder how Doctor Who, even with this inflated budget that it's getting, how it's going to compare against those big shows, those big tentpole SF shows that have massive budgets and incredible visuals. I'm thinking again of things like Silo that have been on recently. Amazon's Lord of the Rings, whilst it wasn't a huge hit, looked incredible. House of the Dragon, the Game of Thrones spin-off. There are upcoming series as well, like Dark Matter. It seems now that every week there's a new massive budgeted SF show appearing on one of the streaming services. And those are the waters that Doctor Who's now swimming in. It's no longer a lone voice in the wilderness. Look, science fiction! It's now purports to be, or to put itself, up amongst these big boys. And I don't know how it's going to fare. The thing about Doctor Who is that it is very, very British, and that's one of its strengths. It's always had that British sensibility about it, and as fans of the classic show, we got used to defending it even back in the day about its visual effects, and it's low budget. Doctor Who from 1963 to 1989 had a very low budget, but that didn't stop it punching above its weight, punching above its budget, because it told great stories. And that was always the thing that Doctor Who fans said, oh, we don't care about the wobbly walls. Not that they wobbled that much in reality. We don't mind about the tacky special effects. The stories are really good. And I think that's going to be the case with Doctor Who again. And I think it's been the case since Doctor Who came back in 2005. The stories have been really good. But now Doctor Who is standing up in the middle of all these big, huge science fiction shows, very adult science fiction shows. And Doctor Who's doing something which none of those shows do. It is appealing, as it always has, to a family audience. Not just a British family audience, though, but a worldwide family audience. And a worldwide family audience might have different standards, different expectations to a British family audience that's used to Doctor Who, used to it being a cosy part of the furniture, used to it being, even in more recent years, being a bit homespun compared to these big shows. So I don't know how Doctor Who is going to fare standing shoulder to shoulder with these hard science fiction shows. And they are hard science fiction shows. Things like Constellation, which has been on Apple fairly recently. They are adult science fiction shows. They are adults in adult situations dealing with extraordinary situations, which is one of the reasons I like science fiction, because I love stories that pit ordinary people against the incredible and how they cope with incredible. And of course, Doctor Who takes that, having this incredible man, incredible woman, incredible person who is in the middle of incredible situations, and how she sorts those situations out, and how the people around her cope with all that sort of stuff. It's the weird with an alien sort of leading you through it. So I don't know how Doctor Who is going to translate to an audience, because there isn't a lot of family science fiction amongst all these big shows. There aren't shows. I mean, you get a lot of shows on Netflix which are sort of young adult, sort of superpowered shows, kids who have extraordinary powers, but they come and go. They don't tend to last very long. They may last a series and then get cancelled. Even the better ones don't last very long. Doctor Who now is occupying that space where it doesn't just appeal to kids, it appeals to a huge audience. Whether it's going to translate on the world stage, I'm not sure. I really don't know. It may be that the whole idea of it is a bit too quirky, a bit too British, maybe. It is a British thing. Whether a worldwide audience is going to be caught by its special magic. And I think the thing about Doctor Who, which is one of the reasons it's been able to sort of regenerate its audience across the decades, is that it does constantly appeal to different generations. Kids will watch it, and those kids will stay with it, and maybe they'll drift away, and younger kids will come along. And I think it is important, although Doctor Who isn't per se a children's programme, it is important that it embraces the generations. Young kids, teenagers, adolescents, adults. That's something it seems to do. There is something in Doctor Who's DNA that makes its stories appeal across the generations. I don't know if that's going to translate on a worldwide scale. Are we going to get kids in Canada and families in Canada sitting down to watch Doctor Who? Will they know what it is? Because it is still an unknown quantity on this scale. I mean, Doctor Who used to sell to like 110 countries back in the day. But it went to a lot of cable stations and smaller stations. It never hugely broke through in America until about 2009, when it suddenly became a big thing. But never a big network thing. It was always on BBC America or the Sci-Fi Channel. It's never been on a big streaming service until now. And now it is. Now it's playing with the big boys. So I'm interested to see how it does. I saw a post on social media, and that's a whole other issue. Doctor Who can't compete with Star Trek and Star Wars and shouldn't try. But it does seem that's what it's doing. It is trying now to compete on that level. I know Russell T Davies has always felt, because he's a huge Doctor Who fan, Doctor Who should be on a level with those shows, should be competing with those shows, because let's face it, it's better. But will the audience agree? Will an audience that's used to the massive gloss and slickness of Star Trek TV shows, Star Wars TV shows, Star Trek films, Star Wars films, and all these other things, will Doctor Who, even a better budgeted Doctor Who, will it grab them in the same way? And I don't know. That's the interesting thing. I think this all is going to depend, of course, on what they're given to watch. Now, we know more now about the upcoming series. We know what the episodes are. We know the titles, the writers, the directors, and so on. And I'm more upbeat about me enjoying them, because I've watched Doctor Who since about 1965, regularly, and as a fan, I suppose, since 1970. So I know my stuff. But I know what I like about Doctor Who, and I know what I like in its storytelling. And I like, particularly, I've always liked the Earthbound stories. As John Pertwee always used to say, there's nothing more terrifying than a Yeti on the looing, tooting beck. When the Doctor goes off to alien planets, it sort of becomes less engaging, because the stakes seem lower, because it doesn't affect me, it doesn't affect us, the human race. But Doctor Who, as a traveller in time and space, has to visit other planets. And it's how you do those stories, which is particularly interesting. One of the concerns about the upcoming series I had initially, and it might be a controversial thing, with Ncuti Gatwa in the lead, I worried that the show might become too camp too often. Because Ncuti Gatwa, we know him, we've seen him, and he's a good-looking boy, he's a clothes horse, he looks fantastic in all these clothes, but there is an essential sort of campness, I suppose, to what he possibly brings to the show. And I don't want to be controversial. I don't want to mess up how I'm trying to say this, but I think that he has a lightness of touch which perhaps has eluded other Doctors. I want to see him being tough. In other words, I want to see him being hard and threatening. I want to see him having gravitas. Is a word that fans often bandy about. And I did wonder, with Russell T Davies back, of course, whether he's now going to go down hard on the representation and the diversity. And we know that these things are important, and it's important to have diverse faces and diverse people on screen, and representation is very important. But I did worry that Russell T Davies, who champions these things, is going to leap through doors that were previously perhaps only slightly open to him, now that the world has moved on. And it did seem initially as if that's probably what was going to happen. I think the second episode, The Devil's Cord, is going to be pure camp, I think, because we've got this drag character, Jinx Monsoon, who's playing the villainess, whatever, called Maestro, who's not the master, by the way. And that's clearly going to be a camp characterization. It's going to be a musical episode, so it's going to have all that sort of shiny floor mentality about it. But I trust Russell T Davies to give it a bit of an edge dramatically, with a bit of danger and drama to it as well. And the series opener, Space Babies, that seems to me like a series opener from back in the day. Russell would always start his series with a sort of a light story to reintroduce the audience to the series. I'm thinking of things like Partners in Crime and Smith and Jones, both great episodes, but they were sort of light on their feet, and they were not exactly comedic, but they were a bit more accessible. Some of the later stories seem as if there's a bit more darkness in them. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm really looking forward to Stephen Moffat's third episode, Boom, on which the Doctor and Ruby land on an alien planet in the middle of a war. Doctor puts his foot on a landmine and he can't move, and I think the story is largely powered by Ruby trying to find a way to get him off the landmine without blowing himself up. And I think that's where we get that really good clip of the Doctor saying, I will bring this war, I will turn your battlefield to dust. And that was a real steal in that. So I think the Ncuti Gatwa is going to be capable of delivering the darkness that we want to see in the Doctor occasionally. But I think he's going to be a bit more fun. I think he's going to be a bit more joyous, because don't forget, he is a new Doctor. All the angst of the Doctor's past has been left behind with David Tennant's 14th Doctor. This is a new Doctor who's going out there like a baby. Perhaps that's why Space Babies has come along as the first episode of the season. He's learning new things, and he's absorbing the joy and wonder of the universe, which is one of the things the Doctor has always been powered by. But I think you need to have a bit of darkness in there as well, because it's a dangerous universe that the Doctor travels through. And I think you need to see that now and again. And you need to see the Doctor vocalising how dangerous it is by showing a bit of steel. And then there's the 4th episode, the title of which eludes me at the moment. It's something like 47 yards, which Russell T Davies has, 1, said it's the best thing he's ever written, one of the best things he's ever written. 2, he's also said it's a Welsh folk horror story. It's set in Wales, it's set in wilderness of somewhere spooky, and it looks good. Those are the episodes I'm really looking forward to, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the episodes and what I've heard about them. So at this point, I'm looking forward to the stories more than I was anticipating that I would before I found out more about them, because they do seem very Doctor Who. And again, Russell T Davies has said that the new look for Doctor Who, the new style of Doctor Who, is going to be not exactly fairy tale, because I think we had that with Stephen Moffat, and I don't think it worked particularly well there. But I think he said that the stories are going to have a bit more of a fantastical edge and a bit more supernatural based things rather than the hard science fiction. The hard science fiction will be there, but there are going to be slightly more fantastical enemies for the Doctor to fight against, because of what happened in Wild Blue Yonder last year, where the Doctor had to evoke a supernatural solution to his battle with the creatures that resembled him and Donna. And that, according to the Giggle, has opened up a gateway for less realistic threats, if you like. We had the goblins in the Christmas special. Wouldn't have had goblins in Doctor Who before that, but the Doctor has obviously done something which has opened up a way for more bizarre creatures to come through. That's quite exciting. So I think that in terms of the series itself, I'm quite happy with what's coming. I think it's going to be good. There are going to be things that are going to cause eyebrows to roll. There's going to be things about gender. There's going to be things about sexuality. There's going to be things about non-binary characters and stuff like that. And whilst I appreciate that all that matters to the people that it matters to, it just makes my eyes roll a little bit. Again, I do have to mention the element of the fan community that is still frothing at the mouth about anything to do with this era of Doctor Who. And I've seen a lot of it, and I try to keep away from it, but I keep drawn in. And I see these completely illogical YouTube videos. And again, as I did when I did my Doctor Who and the Liars, YouTube Liars, keep away from all these people like Nerdrotic. And they've all got stupid names. There's one who wears like a robot helmet and speaks in a robot voice. A lot of them hide behind silly voices and things, because I think they know that what they're talking is rubbish. But it's all about clickbait and making money. So avoid these people. The Critical Drinker, Nerdrotic. There are many of these people who are just there spouting nonsense. A lot of it vile, unpleasant and offensive nonsense about Doctor Who and its characters and its people who work on it. But they're doing it for clickbait reasons. I don't honestly think that they mean a lot of what they say. At least I hope they don't, because pretty horrible people. But there is an element of this on social media, and I'm not very good at avoiding it, because I keep stumbling across it and I can't help jumping in with a few expletives now and again. There are a lot of people who want Doctor Who to be as it was in 1976, but it can't be like that anymore. You can't have Doctor Who made at Studio D in Television Centre anymore. You can't have it made on a budget to £20,000 anymore. That doesn't fly. Doctor Who has to change. But unfortunately, there is a proportion of its fans that won't. For whatever reason, whatever problems they have, whatever prejudices they have, they carry them with them into Doctor Who. And they're ugly. They're ugly prejudices from ugly people. And that's all going to be out there. And I'm sure that however good or bad these episodes are, that's all going to be out there again. You're going to get the same narrative. Oh, Doctor Who's only got 4 million viewers. It's dropped 20 million viewers. And they won't look at the realities of the viewing figures are not important. The overnight viewing figures aren't important. Doctor Who's reach is important. Doctor Who's figures across a 28-day period are what counts. And as I pointed out in my YouTube Lives video, Doctor Who's figures are very healthy, with an average of about 8 million for the last 4 episodes, which is pretty much what the show was getting, when David Tennant was there last time, about 8 to 9 million viewers. So Doctor Who's viewing figures are incredibly strong. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Don't let people tell you the BBC are fudging them, because they can't. I've been through all this before. But these are the arguments that we will hear again and again over the next couple of months. Particularly if Doctor Who does well. And I really hope it does well, because I want to be able to shove it in the faces of these people. And but even so, they'll still say, well, it had 16 million viewers in 1979 with City of Death. It's now only getting 6 million. Oh, disaster. They have their narrative that they will not change. It doesn't matter. The facts don't matter to them. All they care about are the lies and the bile, their bile, that they're able to spill out on YouTube. But because they connect with other like-minded half-wits, they will get clicks, which of course makes money. So anyway, I've gone off point again, because this always gets me worked up. Ultimately, I hope Doctor Who works in a global sense. As I say, it's a totally different TV landscape now, broadcast landscape. Doctor Who is in a genre now which is very well populated by very well budgeted shows. And I hope that now it's exposing itself to a worldwide audience on a massive platform at exactly the same moment, because it's on Disney Plus across the world at exactly the same time. We will get it at midnight. I'm not bothered about all that. I think I've said before, the fact that it's showing at midnight on the iPlayer, don't care. I can understand why it's done that, and the British audience will see it a few hours later if they don't want to watch it at midnight. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do, to be honest. So, in conclusion, as we always used to say in essays in school, I think that it's going to be a good season. I think there's going to be controversial things, or things that people will find tiresome, and there are things that people will translate as the message that's being rammed down our throats. But it's 2024. I think you'll find that most films and TV series are not necessarily pushing a message down people's throats. They're just increasing representation and diversity. How you feel about that is how you feel about that worldwide. The world is the way it is. Television is a window on the world now. Whether you're talking about a big science fiction series like Doctor Who or a soap opera, you're going to get representations of the world as it is. And science fiction must do that, because science fiction has always represented the world as it is. Even in futuristic stories, it's always making points about the world today. That's one of the things that science fiction is about. That's one of the reasons science fiction exists, so that it can reflect the real world in a fantasy situation. So I think it's going to be a good season. I hope that Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson are as good as I think they're going to be. I mean, people who've seen the first episodes have spoken very highly of their very obvious on-screen chemistry. So what it all boils down to now is the stories. And I think with 8 episodes to play with, we don't have room now for the, that one wasn't so good, or wasn't fussed on that one. They're all going to be pretty good from the off. Because there's only 8 episodes, you can't afford to have 2 that aren't very good. You have to really, the show has to be firing on all cylinders every week. And I think it will. But I think the first 2 episodes are going to be the ones that are going to be more throwaway, because they are the introductory episodes. They are the ones that are saying to new viewers, look at this, we're fun. And again, Russell T Davies has said, the new episodes are going to be more fun. They're going to be more enjoyable on a, not comedic basis, but slightly lighter. But as usual, I think it'll get darker as the series goes on. And of course, we know there are lots of mysteries and things going on, because that's what Russell T Davies does. He seeds things, characters appear, mysteries are planted across the season. And I think that those will probably reveal themselves across the 2 seasons. I don't think we're going to get all the answers to these mysteries that have been seeded across the first season, because that's one of the reasons they've done 2 seasons, I think, because he has stories and arcs that can play out across 2 seasons. So there we are. My slightly rambling thoughts about the future of Doctor Who and where we're going to go. I'm feeling upbeat about it. And as I say, I'm feeling more upbeat than I was 2 to 3 months ago. But now we know more and I've seen more. I do hope that the budget is on screen. As I said, it's a decent budget, which should allow for a bigger scale. I am one who has said all along, I do think that the much maligned Chris Chibnall era looked beautiful. There were some extraordinary visual effects in those episodes that he did, especially Flux. And I want Doctor Who to make me go wow visually again, which it did then. So there we are. Doctor Who is on the brink of a step into the unknown, which has to work really, because there's Disney behind it, pushing it, Disney behind it, funding it, not involved particularly creatively. They're just letting Russell T Davies make the show he wants to make. And now it's time for the worldwide audience to decide if they want to step aboard the TARDIS. They want to embrace this extraordinary universe. I hope they do, because I don't know what happens if they don't. Disney has its problems, Disney Plus has its problems, and I think that anything that's on the Disney platform has to earn its place there. So Doctor Who's got his work cut out for it. I think if anybody can do it, Russell T Davies can. Whether lightning will strike twice, so he can do it again, reinvent Doctor Who again in the 21st century, the odds are against him in a way, but I'm looking forward to the episodes. I'm still slightly trepidatious. I mean, Doctor Who means a lot to me. Doctor Who's been in my life for far more years than anything else has. And I want it to be good. I want it to be loved. I don't want it to embarrass me. I don't want it to exasperate me. I just want it to deliver great stories that fire up the imagination. And that's pretty much what it's really always done, even in the dark days. So the stakes are higher. And I hope that what we have waiting for us across the next 7-8 weeks will justify the fact that those stakes are higher, and we'll come out at the end of that 8-week run feeling fantastically optimistic about Doctor Who, that it has a decent future, and that particularly, I suppose the most important thing is it has to do well on Disney, because they are the ones who dictate its future. If Disney pull out after 2 years, whether it would just go back to being an in-house BBC production, I don't know. I don't think the BBC could afford it. So I don't know. Anyway, that's all imponderables. We don't know. But all I can say is, in a very rambling way, I'm looking forward to the new series of Doctor Who. I think it's going to be good. There's going to be bumps along the way, bumps along the road. There's going to be loud shouting voices that we have to zone out of, and just try and accept the joy of the series. And at the end of the day, Doctor Who's a joyous thing. And I'm looking forward to a decent run of episodes. So I will be reviewing each episode as it comes along, as soon as I can. So join me on this joyride, as they're calling it in the publicity stuff, for a new era of Doctor Who as it voyages into uncharted waters. Let's see where the TARDIS takes us next. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, particularly with Doctor Who content coming up soon, why not subscribe? Press that subscribe button. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, share, etc. I will see you soon for more Who and non-Who stuff. Until I do, keep taking the stuff.